Yo, what it do, brothers? You are not tuned in to All That R.A.R.A with your Hebrew brother Milo Judah. And brothers, this episode will be about who places more value on sex. Is it the man or is it the woman? And through my observations throughout my 29 years of living, I honestly have to say it's the woman. Now, growing up, all you hear is men objectify women, and all men want to do is have sex with women. And to an extent, that's true, because a man's nature is, when he looks at a woman, is obviously to judge a woman based off what he's looking at when he first sees her, before he gets to know her, right? So a man may have some inappropriate thoughts about how he would like to, lay down with this woman. But at the end of the day, that's as far as it's going to go. Now, you may have some men who are inappropriate and who will physically harm women or do whatever they do, right? But that's not the majority of men. Now, when I scroll down my timeline, or, when I'm on YouTube or when I'm out and about, 9 times out of 10, the women that I see, they are dressed scantily clad. They barely have any clothes on. A lot of women are talking about how good their vagina is and how good their sex game is. And, pretty much their whole image is based off what they can do sexually. Also, when you look at videos like the brother Kevin Samuels, rest in peace to him, or, cats like Fresh and Fit, or whatever channel you choose to listen to, or, if you call yourself a member of the Red Pill community, when you watch those videos and when you ask the woman what does she bring to the table, 9 times out of 10, she's going to say something about sex, right? So, therefore, that shows you who places more value on sex. Now, of course, men love sex. Don't get it twisted. It feels amazing. But that's not what controls a man. That's not what keeps a man. A woman can have okay sex and an amazing personality, and a man will put up with her, and a man will marry her, versus a woman who has amazing sex and a horrible personality. A man will run away from that because the man isn't trying to deal with the personality. Sex isn't everything. It's basically the 80-20 rule. If you have 80% of what a man wants, he can deal with not having the 20%. Right? And in this video that we are going to give our real and rare analysis on, what we are going to see is that, for the most part, the woman doesn't understand the man's train of thought. She doesn't understand the man's way of thinking and the man's logic, right? She doesn't understand how to compartmentalize things the way the man does. So when he says, I can deal with the woman who doesn't have the best sex if her personality is better than her sex. And all the women hear is, the vagina is not that good. That's all they hear. But without further ado, let's get to it. Let's do some real analysis. Let's get it.
I was in a 9-year relationship with a woman whose sex was just okay.
It was okay.
It was just okay. It wasn't banging. I've had way better. I'm not with you. I'm not in love with you based on your
See, she didn't even like the fact that the brother said the sex was just okay. She was like, okay. But yes, contrary to popular belief, that's not all men care about in a relationship. The main thing a man cares about is respect, or being respected, I should say. And a ton of these women believe that great sex can replace respect, but that's never the case. Even for the cats that are finding themselves in situationships, it only lasts for so long because they tend to find themselves being disrespected often by the woman that they are dealing with. And eventually, the disrespect and the bad behavior will outweigh the good sex. And that situationship will come to an end.
I do not think that who thinks my pussy is okay is crazy.
Why?
It's crazy.
Notice that both men asked her why, and her response was, it's crazy. Because she can't compartmentalize the way that a man can. Right? If you're a good woman, a man can deal with okay sex. Honestly, a man can make it good himself. It's not really a big deal. Right? As long as she does what you say, it's not really a big deal. Right? But, with the woman, if the sex isn't right, the woman will flat out leave. So, sex is a big deal for him. So you have to look at it from her perspective on what she's saying. Basically, if the phallus isn't good, then she can't be there. So, when the brother's saying that the vagina doesn't have to be all that for him to have a fruitful relationship with the woman, it's just not correlating. She just can't put one and one together to get two.
But I think your heart is amazing.
That ain't gonna be your husband.
I think your heart
ain't gonna be your husband.
Why?
See, for me, that begs two questions. The first question is, how would you know? Do you know what men desire in a woman and what would prompt them to make you their wife? And the second question is, did the men who told you that you have awesome vagina, did they also tell you that they want to marry you because you have a great vagina? And I'm pretty sure I know the answer to both of those questions. But like I said, just based off of her statement, it begs those questions for me.
That's how y'all discount me?
No.
Women often complain that men do not communicate. But if you actually pay attention, a lot of men are communicating what's on their mind and how they think and how they approach situations and how they approach relationships. And women are flat out telling them, no, that's not how you think. No, that's not how you approach relationships. Right? But, the thing is, in the past, men didn't have the opportunity to speak and voice their opinions and voice their experiences the way they do. But now we have social media, we have YouTube, we have other platforms, Patreon, things of that nature, where men can express themselves, right? And the mistake that a lot of liberal women, a lot of modern women tend to make is that they go on these men platform and try to debunk what the men are saying. But in the process of trying to debunk what the men are saying, they're actually proving what the men are saying. Right? The man is he's flat out telling these women that a great relationship isn't all about great sex. And they're pretty much saying, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
No, I do not. I'm just saying, for y'all men, though, if she has all those qualities and the poom poom is good, y'all get a little...
What they don't understand is what the brother is saying is, if she has all of those great qualities, the poom poom doesn't have to be quote unquote great. That's all the brother's saying. And the brother with the beanie got frustrated as hell because he's trying to communicate what's on his mind. And these women that are so combative, they're so argumentative, that they're refusing to understand what he's saying. They're listening to respond. They're not listening to understand. And that's what a lot of women tend to do. And they wonder why, when they have these powwows with their man, why it doesn't end in any understanding for either one of them. It just basically ends in, both of them going back and forth, but no solutions being had. Is because they are not actually listening to the man. And if they understood how much listening to their man would benefit their relationship and just actually, taking heed to what he's saying and taking consideration into what he's trying to communicate to them, instead of always trying to insert their point into what he's saying, they will understand that a fruitful relationship will begin there. Because 9 times out of 10, a man just wants to be heard. And 10 times out of 10, he just wants to be respected.
I think what he's saying, I agree with. It don't have to be.
Attachment don't come from.
Yeah, it
I'm
doesn't.
not saying it does, but that intimacy.
Intimacy doesn't come from a woman having good vagina. It comes from the bond that the woman and the man has created between the two of them. It comes from the type of relationship that they have, how comfortable that they are around one another. How can they joke with each other, right? How can they be there for each other? How can they just sit around each other and not do anything, right? One can be looking at TV, the other can be in their phone, and they are perfectly satisfied with that, right? The woman can be in the kitchen cooking, and the man can walk by and tap her on the backside. You feel me? Like, intimacy doesn't just come from having good vagina. Like, these women really got it twisted.
If you want to stay
mediocre,
if you listen,
you're marrying.
I'm not married. I've never been married, but I've dated someone for a very long time with somebody that coochie was just like, oh,
was
that's
good.
okay. Yeah, it was okay. Yeah, you know.
Most is cool. Most ain't good, contrary to women's popular belief. Most is a 7.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. But I will say, you know, I agree with what the brothers were kicking. And like I stated in the introduction to the video, that it's pretty obvious which gender places sex on a higher pedestal in a relationship and just in society, period. And for you brothers who pay attention to the woman, it was pretty obvious to see that the reason these women can't grasp anything that the men are saying is because they base their relationships off of sex, right? So, like I stated in the video, when the sex isn't good, they can't be there. Great relationships are not all about great sex. Honestly, when relationships are based on sex, it's no substance to the relationship. And, you know, that relationship is bound to fail. So, you know, you brothers, like I always say, you just have to understand the nature of the woman. Be aware of everything that's going on in front of you and what's going on around you. You know, always keep the Most High first. And prayerfully, the Most High will send you a good woman. If he doesn't, then obviously your calling is for something else. But with that being said, brothers, that's the real and rare analysis. Yo.